be majorly focusing on uh, the different scripting areas within ServiceNow, and when do we actually go for scripting, and or when do we not go for scripting, when we have to choose configuration versus scripting. That part we will be discussing, and how eventually we move towards further in the course we'll be discussing towards client script. So most probably I'll try that we are able to discuss client script today itself, not completely, maybe one or two type of client script we will be discussing, and then remaining will be continuing from you. Okay, so in today's session we are going to majorly focus on scripting overview, different areas or different avenues where in ServiceNow wherein we can do scripting, when you should script, when you should not script, and script execution in ServiceNow, how basically scripts get executed within ServiceNow. So today's session, it will be like more of an understanding session. I won't say theoretical session. Rather than I would say that it is more of understanding session wherein you will get a clarity. You should be getting a clarity whether you have to do a scripting or whether you can do a configuration change within ServiceNow, or whether you have to say to your customer that no, you don't do this particular thing. If you do this thing, you will have XYZ impact on your instances. So guys, one important thing that as a ServiceNow developer, right, customers will say their stories. They will say their stories in the sense means they will come up with multiple requirements, but it is not that all requirement can be full, and it is not like that all requirements cannot be fulfilled. It is like we who will be as a solution specialist or platform specialist, we will be giving our thoughts to customer that whether implementation of this particular thing within ServiceNow will add up really value to you or it will not add up value to you. Okay, so that call we will take because customer will come from a business use case perspective. He will not come from ServiceNow perspective. He will see what he wants in his business basically. But as a ServiceNow consultant, as a ServiceNow people, we have to tell them that boss, this is the thing which if you implement will add up a value to your organization and business. And if you do this thing, we might land up into some sort of problem. We will eventually discuss on that. So let's move forward. So basic today again, the objective will be defining scripting in ServiceNow, determining when to script different places. Okay, so this is one of the most important slide within ServiceNow. Okay, so ServiceNow provide the ability to customize an instance using JavaScript. Okay, so ServiceNow, most of the time you will be seeing that the language which you are using on ServiceNow in order to do code, it will be JavaScript. There are different modules within ServiceNow wherein only not JavaScript is required. There are multiple other language knowledge which is required. For example, Angular will be required or Jelly will be required, but those are little advanced than what we are going through right now. We are into basics of ServiceNow. Okay, and the JavaScript based on which engine it works. It works on Mozilla. I know this is one interview question which can come up. Some people might ask, ServiceNow uses JavaScript based on what? So you will have to basically answer that. It works on Mozilla Rhino engine. ServiceNow API provide to ServiceNow because it is based on Java and it follows all the concept of OOPS. OOPS is nothing but object-oriented programming, which means it will have set of classes and it will have all the properties of object-oriented programming, which means it will have inheritance. Inheritance means parent class will be there, child class will be there. The properties or the variables will be inherited within each other. Encapsulation, polymorphism, all that will be there as a part of this. Okay. So this is for theoretical and your fundamental knowledge that ServiceNow uses Rhino as its engine for execution of its script. Okay. So whatever script you write on ServiceNow, right, it uses Rhino to evaluate those particular scripts, whether they are fine or not. So this might be one of the interview question, not a very important one, but yes, you should be knowing about it. Okay. The next is when do you write script? When do you use this basically? So let's say ServiceNow, if you would have seen right within your ServiceNow instance, you would have already got certain module within ServiceNow. For example, we discussed about insert module, chain module, problem module. So those modules are already existing. Okay, but there may be certain thing which you want as a customer within environment. That module is not there or that particular field is not there. During that time only you should go for writing something, which means you are trying to extend the baseline of ServiceNow. So whatever baseline means, whatever ServiceNow has already provided, you are trying to extend it. You are trying to add up additional thing to ServiceNow. Okay, you write a script to extend the feature, extend ServiceNow instance beyond standard configuration. So basically, when do you start scripting in ServiceNow? When you have to actually extend something new, okay, or add a new functionality within ServiceNow. Okay, you have to do integration within ServiceNow. Within ServiceNow or outside ServiceNow platform, there will be multiple platforms with which you can do integrations. Integration is a very huge aspect within ServiceNow. Earlier, it was based on REST SOAP, and now they have called something called integration hub, so you can directly do through dot walking itself, you'll be able to do a lot of things. So coding, they are trying to, ServiceNow is moving towards low code now, wherein more of customization you can do. You should be able to do achieve things via just customization than writing a very minimal code. That's it. Okay. Or if you have to do certain process automation, for example, tomorrow morning Ashwini comes up and Ashwini says that Yugandhar, can you provide me a list of all the incidents which were created in last 1 year, and you have to share this report on a daily basis to me. The incident created in last 1 year till date. Okay, so every day there will be some set of incident which will be getting created. Now Yugandhar have two choices. One choice is daily morning, whenever Yugandhar is logging into the system, Yugandhar will come up and he will pull that report and will share to Ashwini. Second thing is Yugandhar, because he knows that this work anyways I have to do. Why I can't automate this? Why can't I write something which will automatically fetch the report and it will automatically send to Ashwini without me bothering every time, right? So that part, if you wanted to do some automation within ServiceNow, or you want to automate certain process which is manual as of now, there you can write your scripts. Okay. Now the most important part is in ServiceNow. Within ServiceNow, there are two major areas where your script run. Okay, one is on server and one is on client side or the browser window. So this is the most important part. If you are not from a IT background, or simple, if you are coding for the first time, or you are just beginning with ServiceNow coding. So what happens is ServiceNow code execute two areas. So if you see, this is my browser. Okay, if I want to do certain thing on this particular browser, okay, ServiceNow has its own set of APIs. ServiceNow has its own set of configurations which are available. And if you want to do certain thing at the database level means where data is actually getting stored within service, right, on the server, right? For that, ServiceNow has its own set of APIs and its own set of modules. Okay, so that we are going to discuss eventually. So when I say client side, most of the client side validation will be like, you are making certain thing mandatory, non-mandatory, visible, not visible, all that part. And when I say server configuration means whenever the data is actually getting stored in the table, you want to still do certain validation, you want to trigger certain thing, then also you can use your server side script. For example, let's say whenever you are submitting incident, automatically email should be triggered to group manager, right? That is something you have to code it on server side, because when data is entered into table, then only you have to take this action. Not like whenever you are just trying to fill the form, that time you don't have to do. But whenever the event is going to, the data has already went into your database, during that time only you will be basically writing that particular code to trigger event to inform manager, like that. So we will move to the next one. Okay. Okay. So there are certain ways by which you don't have to write a particular script. Okay. Consider ways of customizing without scripting. For example, we just saw it. If we want to change the instance color, what are the different customization? We can utilize ServiceNow basic properties itself, and we can customize the instance look and feel. So you should try to find ways by which you can just you have to just customize it rather than coding. But ServiceNow still doesn't say that okay, don't code it. You can definitely code it if you are not able to achieve something via customization. As simple as that. Okay. Make sure script is really needed whenever you are writing that particular script. So these are some of the standard ways wherein you think like really script is needed, or can I achieve this particular requirement via customization within ServiceNow. I don't have to write. ServiceNow promotes like low code within environment, so that it becomes easy for any person who is looking, like who is not from a technical background also, by looking at normal dot copying condition itself, you should be able to understand what are we trying to achieve. Okay. And if you wanted to look into more ServiceNow related stuff, ServiceNow latest feature, you can go to ServiceNow product document site. Remember, I gave you docs.servicenow.com. That is that ServiceNow product documentation site, wherein you can go and look for best practices within ServiceNow, like what are the different coding practices we can follow. Then second thing, you'll be able to get latest feature, what are the latest version of ServiceNow available, what are the latest feature available within ServiceNow platform. Okay. So yeah, this we have covered. Okay. Script execution in ServiceNow. So script execution, as I told, right, there are two major parts wherein your scripts get executed within ServiceNow. First will be on your browser or your client side. Second will be on your server, wherein your database comes into the picture. And third, one more area is there, mid server, which comes whenever we are doing for integrations. So certain scripts are there which gets executed when we are working over mid servers. Okay. So major, if somebody asks where your scripts get executed within ServiceNow, simple answer is it gets executed on client side and it gets executed on the server side. When we client side, when it gets executed, when we have to do certain validations or certain auto population of taking, like if I'm changing on some value, if I'm selecting Uganda, then Uganda details should get automatically populated within the form, right? That and all, if I have to do that, I will do via client side. This we will see in more detail in upcoming session. And then certain thing, whenever I want to do, whenever my database is getting updated, I want to take certain action on that. Such type of validation or such type of actions, I can do it via server side. If anything is there with respect to integrations, I will have to involve mid server. Most of the time, people don't use mid server scripts too much, but there may be certain business use cases wherein we may have to write certain scripts which will execute on the mid server. So our next important topic with respect to our ServiceNow is, we are going to focus on browser specific scripts, the scripts which execute on the browser side. When we say browser side means it will be there on your it will be there on your browser, like any browser, like Google Chrome, Firefox, Mozilla, Safari, right? So the scripts which get executed on your browser side, okay? We are going to focus on that. So in that particular part, we have something called client script, which we are going to discuss. Okay. So what is client script? Okay, client script allows the system to run JavaScript on the client, which is browser, based on certain events, such as whenever a form loads, after form submits, or when a field value changes. So client script is nothing but ServiceNow script which get executed on the browser side whenever there is certain events happening. For example, if I am trying to submit the form, I filled my values, I tried to submit the form. During that time, something executes, that is nothing but your client script. Let me show you a small demo sort of a thing. So, for example, if I am typing incident, okay. So I create this form. Now, if I clicked on create incident, so my form is actually loading, right? It is loading. So if you see, right, this form got loaded now. So if I wanted to do something whenever my form is loading, or whenever I am trying to submit my form, right, that is nothing but your client side scripts which are into action. So I have to change my view to default view. I'm getting mobile. So the moment I click new, so my form is loading. If I have to do something on my form, right, then when the form is loading, right, so this entire form is not yet submitted to the database. What is happening? It is just loading on the browser. If I have to do certain action on that, I can use what? I can use client script. Okay. So let's say if I am trying to fill up the form, let's say I am going to create one incident for April tutor. Next. So let's say I have filled this particular incident form, and the moment I am hitting submit, okay, so what will happen? This form will get validated on browser first, okay. Then if all my validations are passing, then this form will get submitted to my incident database. It means a new incident record will get created in my incident database. So if you see, right, there is something called submit. The moment I hit submit button, you see my screen hang like slowed down for some second, right? So what is happening? My browser validation is happening. Once my all browser validations are done, my form is submitted to server to get the record created within my incident table. So if you see, right, this incident got created within my incident table. Such type of validation, if you have to write, okay, within ServiceNow, then you can use your client script. Okay, some of more use cases is like, you know, if you want to make field visible or hidden, if you want to hide certain field, you can write your client script. Or let's say you want to make any field readable, read only or writable, right? During that time, if you want to make anything mandatory. So if you see on this particular screen, if I remove this value, okay, this field is a mandatory field, and I try to submit button, what is happening? With form itself is not getting submitted, because there is a validation on my browser, which means browser is not allowing this form to get submitted unless or until this mandatory value is there. Okay, so this validation is there on my form itself. Okay, so this validation I can do it via client script itself. Okay, and then if I want like a certain value, let's say if I'm changing the color, to somebody, okay, then description should get auto populated, right? All that I can do via client script itself. So these are different use cases within client script which you can do. Okay, any doubt with respect to this? What is client script in ServiceNow? The client script is nothing but a JavaScript piece of code which executes on browser. Okay, so we'll move towards next slide. Okay, please ignore this one. This is not like client. It should be like client. Different types of client side scripts in ServiceNow. Okay, so these are different other scripts which executes within your browser. Okay, one is client script, which we will go much more in detail. Then there is something called catalog client script, which works specifically on catalog items. Then we have something called UI policy scripts. So within UI policy also you can write script. Then you have catalog UI policy. Then you have something called UI action, which acts on client side also and server side also. UI actions we will discuss more in detail. And then there is something called UI scripts. And then UI pages are there, and UI macro. These are little advanced, okay? But until here, we will cover up all in detail, like UI, what are UI action, what are UI policies, UI policy scripts, everything we are going to discuss in more detail. Okay, so these are different types of client-side scripts which are available within ServiceNow. Okay, we'll just correct this, and I will give you the slide once our session is over. So let's move. What are the different type of client script within ServiceNow available? So ServiceNow has 4 types of client script which are available. One is like on cell edit. Second one is on load whenever form is loading. Third one is on change whenever any change is happening. Whenever you change any field value, it works in conjunction with a particular field. Okay. And then there is something called on submit whenever a form is submitted. If you want to take, if you want to do certain validation, let's say whether a particular field is filled with that field has a value or not. You want to do certain validation, or you want to trigger certain thing, right? So you can use your on submit client script. So let me show. Maybe I have done one small example for on cell edit. So the first one, if you see, right, this is called on cell edit, runs when a cell on a list changes its value. So if you see, this is my list value, list of incident within ServiceNow. So if I wanted to change any particular value in this incident, table. Let's say I am updating a cell. A cell means it is combination of row and column. Simple Excel thing. Okay. So this is my row, this is my incident row, and this is my column. Nothing but your field. So if I'm trying to update this, anything executing here, I don't know. So whatever script will execute on this one, right? That is nothing but your on cell edit script. Okay, if I want to write certain validations here, I can write. Okay, let's say I want to update this one. Okay, so I'm trying to update with to somebody called another user. Let's say Adela. So you see, right? I try to update this particular column in the list view. Okay, I got this alert that you cannot change the color via list view. Okay, and when I said okay, the changes were reverted back to Beth. Whereas if I go into the form and I try to change it to somebody else, same person, the alert didn't came. Why? Because it is only for this. The validation is written only for list view. It is not written on the form view. If we have to do something on form view, we have to write something called on change script. Whenever color is changing, do this action. Okay, that is something which we have to do. I hope this is clear now. On cell edit script. So on cell edit script will work only on the list view of a particular table. And for a particular field, it will not be applicable for all the fields. You have, if you want like to put it for all the field, you have to write script for all the field individually. So let me show you what I have written on the color field. So in order to go to your client script, there are multiple ways. You can type directly client script in your application navigator, and what will happen eventually, your system will give list of all the client script which are available within the ServiceNow. So if you see, right, it is giving list of like 1781 client script which is available in your instance itself. Okay, but let's say you want to go to specific table. Let's say I want to search client script related to incident. I can type in incident here. I have to type the table name and I can hit enter. So I'll get all client script on incident table. Or there is an alternative that I open incident form, right click and click configure, and then I can directly go to client script. So what will happen? It will show me the, all the scripts which are on incident table and incident on task table, because task is the parent of incident table. So let me do this. So this is on cell edit script which I have written on. If you see, right, so when I was getting this alert, you cannot change the color via list view. I was getting whenever I was updating the color field on my incident. So if I try to change this, I am getting here. But if I am trying to change the state field, I am not getting, because of this particular action, that it is working only on color field. Okay, and then this is the script which I have written. This we will cover up as we move forward.